Hey guys, welcome back to Biz Takeouts TV. We are at the Loeries Creative Week with the DStv Seminar of Creativity. We are chatting to Tim Lindsay, who is the CEO of D&AD. Tim, welcome to Biz Takeouts.
Thank you.
So I think to start out, do you want to give us a quick snapshot, just an overview of your talk today at the seminar?
I can try and summarise my talk. It was really about two things. It was about the increasing importance of the purpose beyond profit issue with clients. Okay. The fact that it's becoming sort of front and centre stage in marketing plans, the fact that big companies are becoming more and more geared up to it, and the fact that the advertising industry has, I think, an obligation to help clients address these issues and make it work. It was about the fact that when the commercial agenda and the sustainability agenda intersect, we're in a good place.
Okay.
Because good things start to happen. And the fact that business actually, including us, has an obligation, a responsibility to find ways to make these things work in business's favour. It's not a very good summary, but it's sort of a summary.
Makes sense.
And the second part was about talent and about how young people increasingly are looking away from the advertising industry, creative people, people who would otherwise have looked to the advertising industry, for their careers.
Okay.
And I gave Steve Vernakis of Google as an example of someone who, is finding his creative fulfillment in a technology company.
Okay, and then in terms of marketing with a purpose, how important is authenticity from a brand? Because to me, that's one of the difficult elements to capture, but if you get it right, it really works.
Well, of course, authenticity is important when it comes to this purposeful marketing. But actually, you can argue, people have argued, that even what we used to call greenwash is a step in the right direction. It at least means that the issues are on the agenda and being talked about, even if they're not being properly dealt with at that stage of the process. But I think companies like Unilever, and Unilever are often cited as a good example of this, because Paul Polman, their CEO, is messianic about his plan for sustainable living. That's what their growth plan is called. Okay. And they're not doing everything perfectly. They've got 450 brands. Of course, it's not going to be all right all at once, but they're doing a lot of really good stuff.
Okay, and then I want to talk about the judging a little bit. So obviously you've been part of D&AD.
Yes.
You've done a fair amount of judging, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
How was the judging process for the Loeries this year, and kind of what was the standard?
I wasn't part of it. No. So while I can talk about it, if you'd like me to.
Yes, let's talk about it.
I'm an account man, what some people would call a suit. So I have judged a couple of award shows actually, but not, it hasn't been a big part of my career. At D&AD, we assemble 200 fantastic jurors, more like 220 now, from half are from outside the UK, half are UK based. And we leave it to them. And we set them a standard, and we brief them very thoroughly about what we're looking for. But they take it upon themselves to uphold the standard that is D&AD. Yeah. And I'm sure the same thing happens here at the Loeries. I think I've been told by people who have been judging that the standard work was really, really high. There was fantastic stuff, increasingly from all over Africa, I know. Yeah. And that's the important part of what award shows do, which is this, celebration, inspiration, and enablement of good creative work, because the good stuff works better than the bad stuff. That's the importance.
And then just your thoughts on, so obviously a lot of D&AD, Loeries, we actually get outside judges to come in.
Yeah.
Do you think different cultures judge creative in different ways? So how does an outside person come in and judge African creative?
Yeah, no, this is a very good question about whether people from outside the market, and therefore the culture, can appreciate the nuances of locally produced work. And it is an issue. You can't hide from that. Of course it is. Yeah. And we address it in two ways. Well, it addresses itself in one way, in that the people we invite to judge, as I'm sure again is the case here at the Loeries, are experienced, and if they don't understand something, they know how to ask. And many of them have worked in global roles and are used to judging stuff from other cultures and sort of absorbing it and interrogating it. The other thing we do, and I don't know if this is done here, is we ask on the entry form for a context to be set. Okay. So there's an opportunity to explain some background to the work.
Okay. And as an awards platform, how important is the creative versus the results? Because I think there's that constant battle between what's more important, the creative aspect or the results side. So which one do you favour and why?
By that question, do you mean is the work more important than the winners, or is the bulk of the?
No, so I'm saying is a lot of the Loeries is very much about creative and results. We've got some awards which are purely results or purely creative.
Well, I think that's a very interesting question. We at D&AD we deliberately the two questions we ask are: is it a brilliant idea, and has it been beautifully executed? And we leave the judges, the jurors, to determine what that actually means on a case-by-case basis. We deliberately don't try and judge effectiveness, but increasingly, as digital categories grow, what the entry is a film, and it almost inevitably it includes some success criteria, some results, even if that's just sort of social media stats. And so the game is kind of changing. At the moment, there are many shows like the Effies which are better set up to properly judge effectiveness than D&AD, and I'm guessing the Loeries and to a certain extent. But this may be your next question. But what that can mean is that a lot of the work that gets awarded probably hasn't done real hard work in the real world against real people, and that increasingly is a criticism of award shows that what they award is not real world work, and it's a criticism that's been made of Cannes, but we all pretty much award the same stuff, and we have to address it as an industry. We have to start addressing that. And then, so we almost done this. My second last question for you. Do you think the creative process has changed over the last decade or two, based on moving from very thick, heavy content, TV ads, radio, to now almost micro stories in digital platforms? So has that creative process changed? I definitely think the creative process has changed. I think it was much more linear. It resulted in as you say, a TV commercial or a poster campaign, and I think something Chuck Porter said about Crispin today is sort of characterises the process these days, which is you do a lot of stuff and check it out there and see what works. I think it's become much more experimental, and it has to be, because you really can't judge when a film's going to go viral. I mean, that's the definition of it. You can't ensure that, so you have to try lots of different stuff.
And any highlights so far for you from the seminar and the Loeries week so far?
I haven't been here that long, but I really enjoyed today, and I thought all the speakers were excellent in different ways. Following Chuck Porter is a bummer, but someone has to. I found from today, I think that the industry is really beating itself up at the moment. It's less confident than it was 5 or 10 years ago. And there's a lot of self-deprecation and a lot of questioning of what we do. And I think probably that's healthy, actually. I think it needs to happen. We need to sort of reevaluate our role, both in relation to clients and in business, but also in terms of the effects of what we do in the world and on the planet. And I think that was apparent in today's talks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at the award ceremony.